So they found the woman that was responsible for reporting Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon, which resulted in them being taken from their home and then euthanized.
I would be upset. I am actually upset. And it's sad because, again, it's a squirrel. It's a raccoon. But it seems to be something more. Welcome to the Father Leo Show, where I am dishing out faith, culture, and commentary. And in this episode, we're going to discuss the semi-tragic story of the killing, the euthanizing of the most famous squirrel on the internet, Peanut, and the sadness that came from the owners who cared for this abandoned squirrel. We're going to learn a little bit more about that, and you might think this is a ridiculous topic for Father Leo to cover. Might be to you, but it actually has great implications on how we, humanity, is supposed to relate to nature, as well as the implications of man's freedom to do things in this world without intrusion of nosy people or the government. So we're going to jump right into it, but before we do, please make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment. You have no idea of how your interactions help us to overcome the algorithms of the internet. So please make sure you do that. And also, please consider to support us on our Patreon community. You can join at any level, but if you do support us, you get some special perks. So please consider going to patreon.com/thefatherleoshow and support us there. So let's just jump right into it with a discussion on probably the most loved and known squirrel of all time and the tragic story of its owners. But let's first talk about faith and nature. We know that nature is something that God created, and it is technically something that man, humanity, is supposed to lord authority over it, because humanity, man and woman, are the highest created beings of God. In other words, man is more important than a fish. Man is definitely more important than even a dog. And it's so interesting that people get very upset about dogs being mistreated, but there's not the same rage for children being trafficked. And there are movements out there that get very upset if we don't preserve eagle eggs, because an eagle egg is going to eventually become an eagle. But these are the same people who actually couldn't care less, in fact, are very much in favor of killing a baby in the mother's womb. So there's a tremendous amount of confusion, and that's why we have to really consider what the book of Genesis says. And God talks about how God has blessed humans and says, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and govern it." In other words, humanity, nature, is intended to be procreative, not pro-destructive, but procreative. We're always looking towards a creation, a propagation, a self-preservation of our own kind. So, again, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that scurry along the ground. And I can't help but to think that, St. Francis had this reputation of being a lover of animals. And it is true, there are images of him preaching to the birds, and also him calming down the wolf that was going to attack children. And that's why you have a lot of people who aren't even Catholic put images of St. Francis in their garden, because he appreciated nature. And in a world as today, there is a great confusion that we actually see nature as something that is supposed to master us rather than the other way around. What do I mean by that? You have movements like the Stop Oil group, which is just basically a group of very confused cult members, and I'm calling them cult members, who think that humans are destroying the earth, as if it's our job as humans to let the earth do what the earth does, and we're not supposed to take any part in it whatsoever. So it almost makes the earth more important than the humans that are caring for it. And then you have people like Greta Thunberg, who thinks that cows and Bill Gates for that matter, cows are killing the planet, when you actually have real scientists actually talking about how the way humans have interacted with nature is actually healthier for the planet and better for nature. It just seems that there's a lot of people out there who want to make the planet and nature a type of a god. And we humans are supposed to serve that god. And that's not actually accurate, because no matter how awesome nature is, I mean, you've gone to see the Rocky Mountains, or you're going to see like this amazing forest, or we're just watching, animals. I mean, I take a look at Animal Kingdom. I remember that show, Mutual of Omaha. If you remember that, you're kind of old, but I do remember watching that and just being fascinated by animals. But as fascinating as the animals are, nothing is more fascinating than humanity, truly. If you were just to take a look and compare the difference between the capabilities of a human versus, say, one of the smartest animals in the world, like an elephant or even a dog, there's no comparison. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because as custodians, masters, authority over nature, it's up to manhood, humankind, to see other creatures, including animals, for what they bring in support of us, humans. And I know that sounds arrogant, but come on, it's just the way of the world. I mean, even the biggest nature lover, they are going to use the earth to help preserve them. So animals are used not just for food, but even for us to live, whether it be using some animals for medicinal purposes. You think of cobra venom, for example. You think of jellyfish and how that's used as a way to support humanity. But then you also have the ability as humans to see an animal, and for whatever reason, you give it the permission to be your companion. We call them pets. It's so interesting that in some cultures, dogs were just considered food. And I know that people are going to get disgusted by that, but it's true. Just certain cultures eat dogs, they eat cats. And I'm probably sounding like, like the whole debate regarding what has happened in Ohio, where we have some allegedly, not even allegedly, it's factual, Haitian people eating cats and dogs, or using it as part of their voodoo rituals. I'm just thinking about it now. I was actually in an Uber on my way to an airport, but it was far away. So I had about an hour and a half talking with this guy, incredibly impressive man. And he's from Haiti. And we were talking about this. And he said, yeah, of course, in our culture, it is used. It is eaten. And you just think to yourself how humanity has confused what creation is for. And again, it is up to humans to decide what this animal can be for us. Again, in some cases, it's food. In some cases, it's medicine. In some cases, it's just a thing of beauty, something to ponder and something to make you happy and revel in its uniqueness. But in some cases, it's also companionship. I look at, for example, Dominic, Saint Dominic, known as, in a way, the Dominicanis, the hound of the Lord. And you can see, I don't know if Dominic had a dog or not, to be honest with you, but oftentimes is represented with a dog. So when you take a look again at a theological faith understanding of human relationship to animals, we have a right, a privilege, and therefore a responsibility to make determinations on how God's other created things are going to be useful in service to mankind. It's not supposed to be the other way around. I mean, we're not here to serve cobras and insects and dogs. No, They are there actually to serve us because it was ordained that humanity is the highest creation made truly in the image and likeness of God. So knowing that, let's jump now into the painful story. And there is a lot of pain in here. It might sound silly because it was just a squirrel, but let's take a listen now as we enter into a discussion on what culture is doing and creating confusion in this very theological conversation of humanity and pets. What I'd like to do is first say that, I do take seriously what I see on social media, and there are some cases where people really kind of make a big deal out of everything. I don't want to do that. But I did see something on the internet, and I mean, I'm about like maybe a week and a half late to the conversation, but that's only because I don't want to be reactionary. I really don't want to be reactionary. I want to be able to look at this and just be able to kind of digest it a little bit and then offer hopefully something helpful for you, because I think something like this does affect us. So let's actually take a look at the story of Mark Longo and the sad story about his pet squirrel, and also pet raccoon.
This may be the most bizarre custody battle in human history. It involves the world's most famous squirrel, the man who rescued him, and the state officials who raided his home and took Peanut.
They brought 8 officers here who ransacked my house for a squirrel and a raccoon and made me sit outside where I wasn't allowed to use the bathroom without a police escort. I thought that was a little excessive for a raccoon and a squirrel.
In case you didn't know, Peanut is an online star with more than 500,000 social media followers. Mark rescued him 7 years ago after his mother was hit by a car. He started posting videos of Peanut online and internet fame followed. Peanut even made TV appearances in the UK where he was branded
the most famous squirrel in the world.
Come here. Mark now claims several people online made complaints to New York's Department of Environmental Conservation. In a statement, the DEC said it took Peanut following multiple reports from the public about the potential unsafe housing of wildlife that could carry rabies and the illegal keeping of wildlife as pets. A petition calling for the squirrel to be returned has been signed by more than 20,000 people. His owner hopes the online support translates to real-world change.
I can't give you a definitive answer of whether or not he's still here with us. I hope we have an opportunity to take him back and continue this journey on starting a nonprofit in a squirrel's name.
The DEC said the investigation is ongoing, so there is hope the pair are reunited.
And actually, that was on November the 1st, at the beginning of the year, the Feast of All Saints Day, and you can't help to think that, what would the saints say about something like this? The saints would probably be a little disgusted and annoyed by the amount of intrusion that people have against just something so innocent as this. This is very innocent. And what I want to just say is that since then, there have been some updates. The squirrel has been killed because when these 8 officers raided this man's home, and there are videos of him showing how they completely ransacked his home to find a squirrel and a raccoon. Again, another raccoon that the Longos obviously helped to raise, and they have tons of videos online of them playing together. They don't look like they are being endangered, nor do these pets look like they are endangering other humans. They are actually incredibly, for lack of a better word, kind of cute. And I don't actually even like squirrels, and I like raccoons even less, to be honest with you. Like small, furry things, I don't say I have a phobia of them. They're just not my thing. Squirrels kind of remind me of rats with furry tails, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate mail for it, but I don't find them all that cute. In fact, it's because one of them almost attacked me when I was a kid. And a raccoon, they just look a little bandit-like, in a way they can be cute. And I'll be very honest, when I watched this, because I don't follow Mark Longo or Peanut the Squirrel on social media, but I have seen the videos on my For You page, and I would pause and just watch this on occasion and be like, you know what? I didn't like squirrels. I don't like raccoons, but Mark Longo made me like squirrels and raccoons, made me see another side to this little creature. At the same time, the squirrel and the raccoon possibly made Mark Longo likable. I mean, you see this big guy, muscular, and he doesn't look like he would be gentle, but it's almost as if these animals, these pets, showed a side to him. And what's interesting is that because people complain online, maybe because the squirrel is incredibly popular, and I think people are addicted to bad news, and I think people are just really overcome by the world's divisiveness, that they just wanted to do something bad for no reason at all. They sent 8 guards to his home, ransacked his home, treated him like a criminal, even though Mark even said he has never been in trouble with the law. He lives in a farm in New York, upstate New York, or at least outside of the city, and someone from Texas called and complained. And the claim was many people online, which motivated this Department of Wildlife or whatever it is to go and raid his home. Does not anyone see this as pure government intrusion? And I'm not trying to bring politics into it. I'm trying to bring common sense into it. Where are people's rights and freedoms? And where is common sense? What he was doing was not bad at all. In fact, it was quite good. And so here's the update from another social media presence.
So they found the woman that was responsible for reporting Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon, which resulted in them being taken from their home and then euthanized. Her name is Monica Kessler, and she's from Texas, and she bragged about reporting Peanut and Fred. And since then, she has deleted her accounts. She deleted all of her social media accounts because everybody's extremely upset about this wrongful euthanasia. And for those of you that don't know, Peanut the squirrel was a beloved squirrel on social media with millions of followers who was taken from his home on Wednesday. He was raised by this family as a baby and then taken from his home because of a complaint by this woman. Both Peanut and Fred the raccoon were euthanized. But the thing that's crazy about it is she's a photographer that's a conservationist. A lot of what she does is film nature, but had no problem ruining the squirrel and raccoon's lives and the life of many other rescue animals. Because Peanut and Fred were bringing in a lot of money that was helping a lot of rescue animals. This is part of the reason why everybody's upset.
I would be upset. I am actually upset. And it's sad because, again, it's a squirrel. It's a raccoon. But it seems to be something more. This story represents something more. The nefarious nature of people like this woman who allegedly is the one who made the complaint. And it's almost as if the squeaky wheel always gets more attention. And the good that Peanut and Fred the raccoon, I mean, by the way, those are, again, I'm not a big animal guy, but those are cute names. And my heart kind of breaks because I've watched subsequent videos of the Longos kind of talking about how their hearts are broken. The claim was made that the squirrel bit one of the rescue workers, or basically fed workers, and because of that they had to test for rabies, and therefore they had to kill the squirrel. But I'm seeing a lot of things online that says the squirrels don't carry rabies. And if that's the case, they didn't mention anything about the raccoon. Why would the raccoon have to be killed? I just don't understand it. It just seems to me like whenever agencies like this get involved, they're almost like, and I'm not insulting anyone, but it's almost like academicians, people in the academic world. They don't actually they talk about things, but they don't actually live in the practical world. And this woman who made these complaints and calls, you just got to ask, why? What's the point? Now, there was someone from this New York Department of, Wildlife and said, well, it's illegal to hold as pets animals that are in the nature, that are, generally out in public in nature. Okay. And so they required a license. Okay. So Mark Longo actually gets out there and says, but we didn't know that. I mean, that law is not specifically out there. And Could they not have at least said, you need to make this application? We're going to hold your squirrel until you make this application. And Mark claims that he tried to make the application, but it wasn't easy. It was like he didn't quite understand the whole process. And let me tell you what, I believe him, because if you try to make an application to any government agency, it is just mind-boggling, confusing. I think it's intended to make it difficult to live your life in peace. And I think the ultimate question is, was the squirrel and raccoon in good hands or in bad hands? According to the video, I don't see anything wrong with that. And I actually saw great joy, and it made me actually think of, I don't know, the beauty of nature, but also man's responsibility over it. And I do believe that the people who made these phone calls, like this woman who allegedly made all these phone calls and complaints online, and the agency that just needed to, I don't know, flex and show that they're powerful. I think that they're actually governed by a spirit of evil. I kind of do. I mean, I'm not calling them evil. I'm calling that their motivation seems not of God. Because again, they wanted to preserve this nature, but it wound up killing it. Killing two of them, at least. And I honestly don't know how long squirrels or raccoons live. I really don't know. But I know that what I saw, and obviously the popular opinion is, this man was treated poorly. And two little created animals that brought joy to hundreds of thousands, if not even millions of people, was killed just because of someone complaining for no reason at all. And so here's my commentary. First of all, if you're going to be in the public eye, you're going to just have to get ready for attacks. That's all there is to it, whether you're a person or whether you're a person with an animal. And I've seen a lot of videos of people, caring for a baby duck that was left aside, caring for a chicken. I mean, caring for a raccoon and a squirrel. I've seen a lot of it. And you also know that because it's online, you're just going to have to be open up to just evil people who just hate good content. I mean, I get it. I actually receive a lot of negative comments just because someone doesn't like my opinion. They don't like me. They don't like the fact that I'm a Catholic priest. They don't like God. They don't like anything. They're just some angry people. But who do you pay attention to? Who honestly should you pay attention to? And then we take a look at these bureaucratic government agencies that are supposed to be experts in things, but seem to act completely contrary to the expertise of common sense. And it really does break my heart. And it shows that, I'm going to bring up a little video here. It shows that nature is brutal. The framers of our Constitution would call, nature as brutish, short, and dull, because nature is now broken. At one point, there was this beautiful Garden of Eden, but because of sin, we have broken nature where there is violence to other creatures. Again, at one point, when a lion ate a lamb, it wasn't vicious or violent. It was for the preservation of the higher species, so to speak. And that's okay. I mean, because an amoeba is not as important to humanity as a dog, or in this case, a squirrel. Unless, of course, that amoeba or that little single cell has some potential healing power, and then you got to preserve the heaven into it. I remember there was a priest friend of mine who was building a church, and he secured the land and everything. It was beautiful. But these conservationists says, no, you cannot build your church property here, because this area is a sanctuary for like these microscopic things. Again, they were more concerned about these microscopic things that did nothing. I mean, studies were done. They did nothing to improve the planet, but they couldn't build the church on it. Again, they're more concerned about preserving this wetland than preserving the baby's life in the mother's womb. But just to prove that nature can be brutal, and that when man, out of a goodness of God and out of deeper discernment and reflection, out of a theological purpose, cares for an animal, it is a better situation than to just let animals run in the wild. And this is going to be kind of a sad example of it. So brace yourself if you are squeamish.
Go up the tree.
Look at the camera and say goodbye to Hoss.
Going up the tree. There you go. There you go. Going up that tree. There you go. There you go. Can you make it? Can you make it?
Sorry if that frightened you or upset you, but I'm just kind of showing you what nature is like. There's always going to be bigger fish eating smaller fish. There's always going to be a need to survive and to be able to see animals as a way to either bring something to you, whether it be medicine, whether it be food, whether it be companionship. And it is really ultimately up to humanity, manhood, to make those decisions. And that's why it requires good formation. I don't think that the Longos had bad intentions, but there are other humans who don't have good human formation, human well-formed consciences. And some of those people are the ones who will make complaints about Peanut the Squirrel and government agencies that just think, oh, I'm in this title and position, and so I'm going to exercise my authority over it. And it is really, really sad. So my commentary is simply this: we need to return to a theological, a biblical understanding of humanity's authority over creation. And when we do, we're going to see how it's up to us to determine how to care, how to lord authority, how to make decisions on animals in our life. I hope that this was helpful. I know that this is a little disturbing. It was disturbing actually for me to actually do this research. But again, I hope it just gives you a perspective and something to think about when you look at your pet, when you want to buy a pet, or if you rescue an animal. Don't put it on the internet unless you have a license to do it. And if you're in that government agency, in a way I can say shame on you for being so hostile to another human being who is just simply caring for nature. I'm going to say a prayer for the Longos because I know that their hearts are broken to see videos of them in post-interviews talking about how they miss this little baby squirrel. I can imagine why. I can imagine why. And so I'm going to say a prayer that their hearts will at least have peace, and that if people are such animal lovers that they want to contribute to his nonprofit to have a rescue shelter for other animals, then God bless them. And hopefully I get a chance to meet them one day and just kind of shake his hands, because he helped me to at least appreciate the scurrying of little animals which are also part of God's creation. And so God bless them. And God bless you. Thank you for watching the show. I hope this helps in some way. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share, and comment. Did you see Peanut the Squirrel in action? And is there anything that you would like to share with me so that I can be better informed with how you view animals? And please also consider supporting us on Patreon. It's the only way that we can continue to really produce these episodes and these shows that are hopefully dishing out faith, culture, and a positive Catholic commentary. God bless you, and stay hungry for God.